And now for the American news. What's new? Slavery and Lincoln's assassination. Let's follow me outside of the studio to go hear an American girl's story about how her and her ancestors were treated badly because they were slaves. Come along. And now for the American news. What's new? Slavery and Lincoln's assassination. Follow us as we go outside of the studio to hear an American girl's story about how she and her ancestors were treated as poorly, sadly, slaves. Come along. Here we are outside the studio in the woods where Addie and her family worked. Are you ready to go into Addie's world? Okay, here we are with the famous girl, Addie. Addie, can you tell us a little bit about your life?
Well, it was very hard with barely any breaks, and we would have to work very, very hard. And even children young as 5 years old would have to sleep, handle with the fires, herd cattle, and pick cotton.
There were 11 Confederate states and 19 Union states with 4 border states to go along. Was that true?
Yeah.
What time did the war start and end?
It was 4 years long. It started at 1861 all the way to 1865.
And how did the Civil War start anyway? Well, it was because states' rights and slavery. The Confederate states wanted slavery, but the Union states did not want slavery. Abraham Lincoln would help this dream come true. Did you know the Civil War was the longest war in U.S. history? Most people thought that the war would be quick and easy, but those people were wrong. It lasted for 5 hard years.
Well, 5 to 4.
Can you tell us about the generals in both the Confederate and the Union states? Well, the Confederate states had General Robert E. Lee to be their general. And in the Union states, they had Ulysses S. Grant. Ulysses S. Grant was born in 1822. He took Fort Henry and Donelson to the first major Union victory. Ulysses S. Grant died of cancer at Mount McGregor, New York on July 28, 1885. Okay, Addie, can you tell us about President Lincoln?
The long years of war had left President Lincoln's face lined in hair gray. He told a friend sometimes he think he was the tiredest man on earth. Here's a photograph that was taken on April 10th, 1865, the day after the war has ended.
Abe Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809 in a log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. Abe Lincoln served a 2-year term in the U.S. House of Representatives. On 1861, April 12th, Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina, setting off the Civil War. Okay, Addie, can you tell us about how you learned about God while you can't even read?
Well, it was my grandmother's quilt. It's called a Bible quilt. It has Adam and Eve on it, Jonah and the whale, and Noah's Ark on it, and the birth of Jesus and African animals.
Religion helps some enslaved people endure the cruelties of daily life and hold to the hope of a better future. Some slave owners encouraged their slaves to be religious because they believed Christianity taught obedience. But to make sure that only the right values were passed along, slaves were not permitted to hold church services without a white person present. Can you tell us a little bit about the presidents of the Union and Confederacy states?
Well, it was pretty much the USA was dividing into two countries. And Jefferson Davis was the president for the Confederacy, while Abraham Lincoln was the president for the Union.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Emancipation Proclamation? Okay, well, in 1865, Abraham Lincoln accepted Robert E. Lee at Appomattox. On January 1st, 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in the Battle of Gettysburg in southern Pennsylvania in July. Union forces, led by General George C. Meade, turned back General Robert E. Lee and the Confederate Army. Lee retreated to Virginia, marking a major turning point in the war. At the dedication of Soldiers National Cemetery, Lincoln delivered the famous speech of the Gettysburg Address on November 19th. Addie, can you tell us a little bit about the Gettysburg Address?
Yes, it was on a hot summer day in Pennsylvania, Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln gave the speech, Gettysburg Address, to dedicate all the men who fought in the Great Civil War.
Addie, how did the Americans feel when Abe Lincoln was elected president?
Well, Southerners feared that the new president, Abraham Lincoln, would end slavery soon. After the 1860 election day, Southern states began seceding or separation from the Union to form their own country. Confederate States, it was called the Confederate States of America.
Addie, about how many people died in the Civil War?
Well, more than 150,000 did.
Addie, have you ever read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin?
No, but my grandmother has read it to me. I loved it. It changed a lot of people's mind about slavery too.
Thank you so much, Addie, for telling us that awesome fact. Addie, what was the church you went to like?
When me and my mom arrived in Philadelphia, the church was there to help us. All black churches have helped newcomers since 1794.
Well, that's awesome. Addie, can you tell us a little bit about the soldiers?
Well, when my brother was in the Civil War, he was a volunteer like most of them were.
Did your brother get paid much?
Yes, but very little. Lainey, I want to know what you know about the Civil War. Do you know anything about Lincoln's assassination?
Yes, I do, in fact. I know he was assassinated in a movie theater, and he was assassinated 5 days after the Civil War.
Wow, that's very sad, isn't it?
Yes, his nickname was Honest Abe.
Yes.
Back to the studio. Thank you so much, Addie, for being on the show.
Oh no, thank you. It was an honor.
That's all for the American News
on Channel 52.
This was a Jency
and Callie
production. Thanks for watching.